Black Princess are in action this afternoon in the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in France. Their coach, Steve Basigi, insists the game with Holland is a must-win.
We have details when Benedict Ogusu joins us much later. All that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Do stay. Details coming up shortly. And it's now emerged that money from the Bank of Ghana that was meant to bail out Capital Bank was used by its shareholders to establish Sovereign Bank. It's also emerged that the main shareholder of the bank went against Bank of Ghana regulations and used deposited money as what the central bank calls a personal piggy bank. An audit report commissioned by the Bank of Ghana also reviews how top managers at the central bank failed to act on the rot. Fifi Kumsing has more.
According to the Bank of Ghana, there was a web of transactions involving insider parties, that is, directors, shareholders, and their related companies. A committee made up of board directors was tasked with the investigation of these transactions. The findings were as follows. The initial transaction implied willful deceit at the conversion stage to a full Tier 1 banking license. At this stage, the shareholders appeared to re-engineer capital amounting to 56 million Ghana cedis through suspect placement to local financial institutions. On 30th March 2016, the CEO of the Capital Bank wrote to the head of the banking supervision requesting that a non-existent investment of 482.4 million Ghana cedis, which included the 56 million Ghana cedis, should be converted into a 5-year debt. The Banking Supervision Department, in a letter dated June 3, 2016, referred it to the managing director of Capital Bank that the central bank granted approval in principle for the non-existent investment of 482.4 million Ghana cedis to be structured in a loan facility to be paid by the following shareholders over a period not to exceed 5 years: Ato Essien, Ohineba Ose Akoto, Stephen Encho, and Kingsley Atagansa. According to the report, the action granted by the Bank of Ghana could have been avoided in 2015 when the risk assessment report indicated that no capital had been introduced into the bank for the Class 1 license. The report also indicates the major shareholder, Mr. W.A. Essien, flouted all banking and risk management rules, treating depositors' funds and public funds as his personal piggy bank. He used depositors' funds totaling 80 million Ghana cedis to invest in business ventures in Ghana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. The report mentions Ocean Spring Mineral Water, Brightline Services, Jinyame Limited, Capital and More Company Limited, Ascent Financial Limited, Life Assurance Limited, and the Capital Africa Group. In Zimbabwe, the report mentions First Capital Plus LLC, Jinyame Resources LLC, Bill Mines LLC. In South Africa, the report mentions Asian Swiss International Capital Holdings, ASIC. And then there are the connected entities, Nordia Capital, Commerce Savings and Loans, and Sovereign Bank. Following concerns of liquidity challenges at Capital Bank, an emergency board and ESCO meeting was held on 13th October 2015, which reflected management concern of how bailout money was being handled by a board member. A review of the Executive Committee, ESCO, and emergency board minutes reveals that the liquidity support issued by the Bank of Ghana was being handled by a board member. At the meeting, Mr. Ato Essien stated that the placement of 130 million Ghana cedis with all-time capital and funds would be paid back by March 2016. It also says the chairman of the board of directors, Dr. Mensa Otabil, assured management that he would ensure the funds were returned by March 2016. According to the report, funds raised through the commercial paper issued by MC Management Services Limited and Brightline Services were used as capitalization for the establishment of the Sovereign Bank. According to the bank, the placement of 130 million Ghana cedis to all-time capital and 65 million cedis with Nordia Capital were a round tripping of the liquidity support from the Bank of Ghana to set up Sovereign Bank.
Now, in a separate development, the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, which was set up by the central bank following the collapse of 5 local banks, has written to employees of those banks. The letter outlines terms and conditions under which they will continue to be employees of the new bank. Joint News editor Fifi Kumsing has a copy of the letter and joins me in studio with details. Fifi, what does it say?
Well, this is a letter signed by W. Ado Daniel, Managing Director and CEO of the Consolidated Bank of Ghana. And it reads, "We wish to welcome you to the Consolidated Bank of Ghana Limited. As you are aware, the Bank of Ghana has withdrawn the operating license of your bank, and the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited has assumed the assets and liabilities of the bank. The purpose of this letter is to inform you that you will be working with the new bank for a period of 60 days for certain, during which it will be possible for your employment status to be assessed. Based on this assessment, a determination will be made as to whether you will continue to be in employment with the Consolidated Bank of Ghana."
So that's the letter that has been written by the Consolidated Bank to current employees of the defunct 5 local banks that were collapsing and merged into Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. But away from this issue, let's go on to another controversial issue, because General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia, has backed calls for President Akufo-Addo to be impeached over his involvement in the controversial Ameri deal. Although the president earlier gave executive approval for the deal, he was forced to withdraw it following mounting criticisms of the agreement, which did not include approvals from the Energy and Finance Ministries, and eventually led to the dismissal of Energy Minister Boakye Jakon. But speaking to Joy News, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia says the president cannot absolve himself from the controversy and must be impeached.
He doesn't even carry the collective responsibility of a cabinet. This is a document that has gotten executive approval by the president himself. So he solely approved that agreement. So we know where the blame should lie squarely. It is an international agreement. And because of that, the law requires the Attorney General to give a written opinion on the contract. That opinion must be available for the president to look at before signing. That opinion was completely absent. Then number 2, it is a financial transaction, and for which reason the Minister of Finance must do a value for money audit. In this particular case, there was no such value for money pre-audit for the president to consider. Then, because it is a procurement contract, you need the National Procurement Authority to also grant approval, more so when it is a sole source agreement. You need further approvals for sole sourcing even before you proceed. There was no such letter conveying any such approval from National Procurement Authority. Then finally, these agreements has to deal with the buying and selling of electricity. The law in Ghana says that the rates for the buying and selling of electricity, where government is a party, must be established by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. So there must be some approval of the rates that are contained in the document by the PURC. No such written agreement was done. So we are likening the president's action to the bank manager. It's like a bank check that has been put on the table of the manager. He takes it, it has to bear 4 signatures. None of the signatures are present. Then he signs for withdrawal. When the money eventually gets withdrawn, why do you go to blame a cashier?
Okay, already there are calls, against this background, there are calls for the president to be impeached. Do you support such calls?
Well, there is grounds in my view for impeachment. But looking at the nature of our parliament, it will be difficult to get it through. But there is no harm in trying it. At least it will be establishing a principle that the president cannot do wrong brazenly and get away with that. In this particular case, since he decided to liken himself to a dog who is going to be given a bad name, I think that this dog has earned a very bad name, and nobody needs to hang that dog. The dog must hang himself.
You heard Johnson Asiedun Ketia, General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, in that interview with Joy News editor Araba Kumsin. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has called on the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu to probe the Intrakwa Committee report, which exonerated a CEO of Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, Frances Essiem, from corruption allegations. According to the group, although government has dissolved the board of the company, their checks reveal Frances Essiem is engaged in several shady procurement and contracts without recourse to the procurement laws and procedures nor approval. They add she's using intimidation and dismissals, among others, to get her way. Duncan Amoa is Executive Director of COPEC Ghana and joins us on the line. Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. But let's start with your request for the Special Prosecutor to probe the Intrakwa Committee report. We know that they exonerated Frances Essiem from corruption allegations. The committee says she did no wrong. Do you know something we don't?
That will be a bit shocking to hear, but let me say good afternoon to your listeners. The Intrak Committee report, as we speak, is being kept under lock and key. It is one of the breaches of natural justice where the board that actually took steps to prevent the sort of rot that they had uncovered has rather been dismissed or dissolved. The board, my checks as of yesterday, had written officially to be given a copy of the committee's work or report. It's been denied them. I wasn't surprised that an accountant who happened to be the finance manager of Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, who equally was in the thick of all that went wrong or has gone wrong in the company, has been dismissed. And as we speak, the Intrakwa Committee report is still being kept under lock and key. We understand that a lot of the issues in that report is very damning against the CEO. She has succeeded so far in using some of her friends within the top echelons of government to continue to perpetuate her stay in office. The finance manager has also had cause to now petition the special prosecutor to ensure that the Intrakwa Committee report is at least made public, so that if indeed the procurement breaches and infractions that he speaks about, that the board found and asked Madame Frances to proceed on leave, indeed absolve Madame Frances, let them publish the report today. We believe that this is one of the clearest cases of people again misrepresenting the picture to the president on the true state of affairs at the GCMC. And we say this on the back of the fact that several of the infractions that we listed in our statement today, as we speak today, have neither been denied nor confirmed.
Talk of these allegations. You're saying that she's engaged in several shady procurement and contracts without recourse to procurement laws. What evidence do you have to back that?
Indeed, if you speak to the people who were in the thick of all of this, including the finance manager at the company, he confirms the following: procurements without approval of office furniture from KSNSO Limited, 250,000 Ghana cedis. Procurement of hand gloves by DZ and Co., 26,000 Ghana cedis. Procurement of retainership, 6,500 cedis a month against the company. Construction of office canteen, 484,575 Ghana cedis. Expansion of factory building by CDK, 2,539,000 Ghana cedis. Construction of additional office.
And all these she did without recourse to the procurement laws?
Exactly, according to even the finance manager who supervised all of this. And so it leaves you wondering why anybody would attempt to cover all these things up. And that is why we are calling on the president to immediately ensure that the Intrakwa Committee report is implemented.
So have you petitioned the special prosecutor since then?
The finance manager, as of yesterday, had sent an official petition detailing some of these infractions to the special prosecutor. We are only calling on the special prosecutor to expedite action on these issues as they continue to border on corruption, fraud, malfeasance, and procurement breaches, and we want to see the end to all of this immediately.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duncan Amoa. He's Executive Director of COPEC. Now, away from that, the University of Ghana has lost its case at a London arbitration after it was ruled that the claims made by the university that due diligence was not made in its own contract with Africa Integris was untrue. Now, if you recall, early this year, the current Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana reviewed a $64 million contract signed by his predecessor, Professor Ernest Ayite, had enslaved the University of Ghana as the contract had unfavorable terms of disengagement. However, it appears the woes of the university management feared could be a reality as the arbitrator found nothing wrong with the process in preparing concession agreement. My colleague Nancy Emefa-Dradosi joins me with details of this. So first of all, give us a background to this particular issue.
All right, so Emefa, in 2015, the university under the leadership of Professor Ayite entered into a PPP agreement with Africa Integris to invest $64 million in the construction of 1,000 new students' hostel beds for undergraduate and postgraduate students of the University of Ghana. Now, the said project was structured as a 25-year build, operate, and transfer contract. Reports later emerged that the university, under the Professor Ayite, signed the agreement without any basic due diligence because it was revealed that under the terms of the contract, it was supposed to pay $10 million annually for the next 25 years, MFA. So the university actually was against it and took it to a London Court of Arbitration. And the case has actually been ruled out. They're saying that due diligence was done. Due process was followed in arriving at this particular agreement. And also, if they want to terminate the contract, they will have to pay in Africa Integris $160 million.
So that's the cost awarded by the UK-based arbitrator. But what is the arbitrator actually saying, and what does this mean to the university community?
So this is actually going to cause a very big financial loss to the University of Ghana itself and also the state, because I mean the contract has been terminated. The building is not going to be there anymore. But you're going to pay these people $160 million, MFA.
Nancy Emefa-Dradosi with details of that UK-based arbitrator's ruling on this particular issue. There'll be more in our subsequent bulletins. It's time now for fact-checking. Today, we'll tell you the facts about the Education Minister, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, the fact that he got wrong, and when he addressed the press on the double-track educational system government is introducing at the senior high school level. Raymond Akwa has more on the claims and verdicts in this report.
Let's start with Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh's claim that nearly 28% of all those who qualified to go to senior high school were not able to do so between 2013 and 2016.
Between 2013 and 2016, nearly 28%, all those who qualified to go have senior high school education were not able to.
It is true that in 2013, the number of people placed but could not enroll at the senior high school level was 25.7%. That of 2014 was 29.3%, with 2015 and 2016 recording 27.8% and 26.5%. The average of the 4 years, which is 27.3%, is actually closer to 27% than 28%. He also said that the progressively free senior high school program did not target poor people.
We did progressive free education in this country for 2 years. We did not discriminate the rich and poor.
This is misleading. The progressively free senior high school policy primarily targeted the poor and vulnerable, with evidence from the World Bank through the Social Services Network in the form of the Participatory Poverty and Vulnerability Analysis Report. It was determined that poor students were more likely to be day students. Indeed, this was stressed by the then GES Director's statement announcing the implementation of the policy in August 2015, which stated that it is to enable students dropping out of the senior high school level who otherwise would have continued to acquire functional skills, as well as increase the chances of students from poor background to access higher education, thereby reducing the cost of education of many households. The Education Minister also spoke about the additional amount required to implement the double-track system.
If we add the teaching cost per year and the academic intervention per year, government has to find the money, nearly 300.
The total additional funds needed, according to the ministry's data and presentation on the program, was 267,236,989 for teaching costs specifically, and also 55,824,750 for academic intervention. This totals 323,061,739 cedis. This is evidently more than 300 million, and also not nearly 400.
Raymond Akwa with fact-checking. This is the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Stories we've covered so far. We got details of fresh document from the Bank of Ghana revealing how shareholders of Capital Bank flouted all banking rules and treated depositors' funds as a piggy bank. And General Secretary of Opposition NDC backs calls for impeachment of President Akufo-Addo over his involvement in controversial Ameri deal, saying he cannot absolve himself from it. Still to come in Joy News Agenda today, we'll tell you how the lack of access to potable water is compelling residents of northern regional town of Manguli to share a pond with animals.
Only this water we have here. We don't have any pipe water. 3 months time, this water will gone.
And leave the breast for your babies. That's the advice from Director General of the Ghana Health Service to new fathers who, he says, have taken over sucking of the breasts.
Under no circumstance should the husband say that the breast will become lax. I want my wife's breast to stand. That's not for you. It's for the baby.
Is a sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mack. Yes, Mack Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicles stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mack Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website MackGhana.com. Mack Ghana, with you for the long run.
You're welcome back. This is the Midday News. Time now for the latest from the world of sports. Benedict Owusu, you're excited about the
I'm waiting for that story. Yeah,
but you're not a new father.
All right, so let's talk some sports now. Now, Black Princess coach Yusuf Basigi insists their second Group A game at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup against the Netherlands is a must-win. Now, Ghana go into that game after losing their first game to host France 4-1. Another defeat will see the Black Princesses out of the competition, and this is what Yusuf Basigi wants to avoid.
I've made the girls to understand even a draw we are not safe. It's just a must-win match for them. Even a draw, you get 4 points. Even you win your last game, 3 points, you are out. We must just win. So it's not just by saying, but their attitude. They must get ready. They must be match ready for the game. I've made them aware, and the battle line has been drawn.
All right, so that's Coach Yusuf Basigi. He's actually made 4 changes to the team that lost the first game to France. Captain Rafia Al-Hassan has been dropped to the bench. So the lineup for the Black Princesses this afternoon, remember the game is at 2:30. That's Ghana time. Martha Annan will be in post with Cecilia Hagan playing at right back. So in the absence of the captain, that's Rafi Al-Hassan, Cecilia Hagan will captain the team. And then Justice Trenebois as well as Felicity Esuakun will play in central defense. And we'll have Shine Abumazi playing on the left with Ernestina Abambila, Helena Oben as well as Grace Asantua and Sandro Wusu and Sam play in midfield. And we'll have Ruth Anima and Olivia Anoche. They will lead the lines for Ghana. So we hope and pray that the Black Princess will win this game and make the next stage of the competition. But currently, Brazil are losing 1-0 to England in their second group game.
That's your sports with Benedict Owusu. Now, it's been 3 years since residents of the northern regional town of Manguli had access to potable water. According to them, they depend on a polluted pond shared with animals for survival. Correspondent Martina Bugri, who visited the community, reports that natives are more concerned about where to get their next cup of water when the pond dries than the actual quality of the water. That's for our Joy News agenda today.
This milky, creamy pond contaminated with dirt is the only source of water for the people of Manguli Kukuo, which is expected to dry up in the next few months. For these people, having water last all year-round is their main concern and not its quality. Isahak Ibrahim, a farmer who has his farm close to the pond, seemed comfortable with the water as he galloped some when I met him at the pond.
If we will get any water apart from this pond, it is when the rains come, and those with roofs with zinc can get water. And even with this pond, it would soon finish once the rains stop, and we will have to trek several miles to get water. When that happens, students would have to drop out of school to go in search of water.
Another farmer, Alahassa Mumuni, tells Joy News how to maintain the water they have now to last more longer is their priority. Quality can come later.
And we are animals, we are drinking the same water always. So only this water that we have this community, because as a community we have almost 500 people here, and we drink only this water we have here. We don't have any pipe water. 3 months time this water will gone. No talk of quality.
Ibrahim Asana knows using the polluted water can cause heart diseases.
Martina Bugri with Joy News Agenda. Leave the breast for the babies. That's the advice from Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, to new fathers who he says have taken over sucking of the breasts. He's been speaking at a sensitization program to mark World Breastfeeding Week, a week-long event aimed at highlighting the benefits of breastfeeding to both the health and welfare of babies, as well as a wider push for maternal health.
The breast is for the woman and also for the baby. So let's leave the breast for the babies and allow our wives, our sisters, to breastfeed their children at least continuously for 2 years. And then the husbands need to also encourage their wives, even wake them up in the night that, have you breastfed the child? So we wake up twice in the night to also breastfeed the child. This can be done through the help of our husbands. And under no circumstance should the husband say that the breast will become lax and I want my wife's breast to stand. That's not for you. It's for the baby. Even if you leave, the wife doesn't even breastfeed, the breast will still become lax with age.
Good advice there. Dr. Anthony Nsiasare is the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. There's milk in the breast. Why? Just leave it for the babies. Maps, what's trending on social media?
Well, the Bank of Ghana is trending, and Adelaide Derek says the Bank of Ghana has said countless times that they do not regulate Bitcoin trading and warn Ghanaians to approach that space with caution because it's a grey area with huge risk. And at Shadrick says BOG is the Bank of the nation and has a duty to inform citizens on potential potholes in the financial system. And the last tweet I'm going to take is from @Black Lion Dejen, who says Ghana will continue to be poor because when you reach the top to help the country, they will still be there to fight you down.
And that's it for the midday news on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Thank you so much for your company. Have a good afternoon.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, don't worry, Grandpa. There are still 5 ripe and 15 unripe mangoes on the tree.
That's my boy.
Grandpa, it's still 1.2 kilograms of rice in the container.
My boy. And how much credit did I spend last week?
Well, you spent 5 CDs on calls, 2 megabytes on data, and you sent 5 SMS.
We are the only network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *545# to access your statement on MTN everywhere you go.